In today's video, we'll be recapping the 2019 horror and thriller titled The Platform. The story begins when a man named Goreng wakes up in a concrete cell. He's currently in cell number 48 of the facility called the Self-Management Center. He notices that there's nothing in the room except a bed and a wide pit leading down to other cells. His cellmate, a man named Trimagasi, informs him that there are over 100 floors of cells just like theirs, and that the prisoners inside are also using aliases like them. In this facility, food is lowered on a platform every day, and the prisoners have 2 minutes to eat as much as they can before it's lowered to the cell on the next floor. The lower one cell, the lesser the chances of getting any food to eat, so at the end of each month, the prisoners are reshuffled and placed in different cells. When Goreng sees the platform for the first time, he refuses to eat, not just because the prisoners above have made the food look very unpleasant, but also because he feels he isn't hungry. Trimagasi, on the other hand, gobbles down as much food as he can and spits on the remaining food once the time is up. He says that he does this because he believes the prisoners above do the same. As the platform lowers, Goreng decides to save an apple for later, but after a short while, the room begins to get unbearably hot, and he discovers that storing food for later is prohibited, so he tosses the apple into the pit before they're burned alive. After this, Goreng reflects on the agreement he signed before entering the prison, which states that he has to stay in for 6 months. It turns out that the prisoners in the cells all came in voluntarily and had the choice to take one item inside along with them. Goreng chose to take a book inside with him and will be spending 6 months inside the prison so he can get a diploma. The following day, Goreng refuses to eat from the platform again and asks Trimagasi how he got into the cell. Trimagasi reveals that it was a television commercial for a knife that he liked, so he bought it. However, a few days after, the companies released another commercial advertising a better knife. This made him so angry that he threw the television set out of the window and killed a guy who was walking by. Afterward, he was given the chance to choose between a psychiatric home or the prison, so he chose the latter. Trimagasi tells him that the lowest level he's been to is cell 132, and admits that a month down there isn't too bad. The problem starts when one gets placed in the lower levels 2 times in a row. Hearing this, Goreng becomes afraid for the people on the lower levels and asks the prisoners beneath his cell to ration their food, but they ignore him, and Trimagasi just urinates on the prisoners below them. He then reveals that the item he chose to bring into the facility is the knife he bought from the TV commercial. The next day, Goreng finally eats from the platform. He sees a person fall through the pit, and Trimagasi tells him it's very common. When Trimagasi confirms that they'll be together the next month, Goreng realizes that he survived by eating his cellmates when he was on lower levels. The day after, a girl named Miharu is sitting on the platform when it comes to Goreng's cell. Trimagasi tells him to ignore her even though she's injured, and informs him that she comes down once a month to search for her missing son. She also kills each prisoner she's paired with to increase her chances of being reunited with her son. Trimagasi then uses the opportunity to clear the air and explain that he didn't kill anyone but only ate the bodies that fell into his cell. After the platform lowers again with Miharu sitting on it, the prisoners in the lower cell try to assault her, but she just kills them and goes back to the platform. At the end of the month, gas is used to put the prisoners to sleep so that they can be shuffled around. When Goreng wakes up, he's horrified to see that he's in cell 171. To make matters worse, Trimagasi has tied him up, claiming that he's doing it in self-defense because Goreng is stronger than him. The platform finally arrives, and not surprisingly, there's no food left. 8 days pass, and Trimagasi decides to feed on Goreng by cutting a chunk of flesh from his thigh, but Miharu arrives on the platform just in time to save him, remembering how concerned Goreng was for her the first time he saw her. She frees Goreng, and they kill Trimagasi. Goreng faints, and when he wakes up, Miharu has already bandaged his leg and offers him some meat from Trimagasi's body, which he reluctantly accepts before she leaves. Over the next couple of weeks, Goreng feeds on Trimagasi's rotting corpse and gets hallucinates from time to time, seeing Trimagasi's ghost judging him. By the end of the month, the prisoners are shuffled again, and this time, Goreng finds himself in cell 33 paired with a woman named Imogiri, who brought her dog into the prison with her. Goreng immediately remembers that she was the one who did his interview when he wanted to come into the facility. She reveals that she also volunteered, but admits that she didn't know people died in the prison. When she tells him that there are just over 200 cells, he tells her that the food isn't enough for everyone, but she insists that it would go round if everyone only ate what they needed. Goreng claims that the only way that would happen is if everyone agreed to work together, and so Imogwari takes the initiative. The next time the platform arrives, she only eats what she needs and feeds her dog some. Afterward, she takes 2 plates and rations the food for the prisoners on the next level. She tries to explain her goal to them and urges them to ration the food for the next level, but they ignore her. After trying for days with no success, Goreng gets fed up and threatens to defecate on the food next time if they don't do what Imogwari says. The threat works and they begin rationing the food. One day, the platform arrives with Miharu unconscious on it. They take off it and tend to her while the dog steals some food. The platform leaves and the room suddenly becomes very hot, so Goreng has to chase the dog to retrieve the food it stole. At night, Goreng wakes up to see the women fighting and finds out that Miharu killed the dog to eat it. When the platform finally returns the next day, Miharu sits on it and leaves with it. Goreng tries to blame Miharu's behavior on the loss of her child, but Imogwari tells him that Miharu came alone and didn't have any family. Goreng also finds out that Imogiri is fighting cancer, and that she came to the prison to make a difference, but now she doesn't care anymore and starves herself since her companion is dead. The second month eventually comes to an end, and when Goreng wakes up, he's devastated to see that he's on level 202. He also finds out that Imogwari has committed suicide. Due to his current situation, the hallucinations resume, and he sees Trimagasi and Imogwari encouraging him to feed on her corpse. After days of starvation and holding back, he finally gives in. The 4th month begins, and Goreng is delighted to see that he's in cell number 6. His new cellmate is a man named Baharat, who tries to climb up with a rope but fails when the prisoners above foil his plans with a disgusting act. On the bright side, they have more than enough food to eat, and Goreng doesn't have to feed on corpses in the meantime. With only a few weeks left in the prison, Goreng comes up with an idea to help the people on the lower floor get food. He tells Baharat to help him ration the food while they go down on the platform to make sure everyone eats. Based on his calculations, there are 250 levels, so he suggests that prisoners in the first 50 cells shouldn't eat since they'd have enough the next day. On the way down, Baharat comes across an old man named Grambong, who he respects. The man commends them for their act, but reminds them that the owners of the prison don't care about their acts of kindness. After level 50, they begin giving the other prisoners rationed food and even feed some who are sick. They eventually reach cell 250, but that's when Goreng realizes his calculations were wrong. It turns out that there are more levels than that. They get to a cell and only find a corpse there, so Goreng presumes that it must be the cell that Miharu was placed in. When they reach the cell just beneath them, they find Miharu being attacked by 2 men. One with a sword and the other is just big and strong. Goreng and Baharat jump in to save her. They manage to kill the men, but unfortunately, Miharu has already been killed during the struggle. Afterward, they continue going down on the platform to feed the remaining prisoners, even though most of the cells are dead at this point. The platform finally stops at cell number 333. At first, Baharat and Goreng think the place is empty, but then they find someone hiding. It's Molly, the missing child that Miharu has been searching for. They give him the last plate of food before the platform goes down into the dark, empty space they call Level 0. To their surprise, the room doesn't get hot even though Molly has food with him. That night, they all sleep in the lowest level, and when Goreng wakes up in the morning, he finds out that Baharat has died after bleeding out from the injuries he sustained during the fight. The next morning, Goreng takes Molly with him on the platform, and they're lowered into floor 0. There, Trimagasi appears to Goreng again and tells him to get off the platform. He wants everyone up there, including the owners of the prison, to see what the innocent child has been going through. After getting off, Goreng and his hallucination of Trimagasi watch as the platform goes back up with Molly, hoping to pass on a message to everyone up there to show them the reality of the situation in the prison. That's all for today's recap. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you next time.